Welcome for FSMA Compliance for Feed Mills, a resource for small to medium-sized feed mills in the state of South Carolina to help them comply with the preventive controls for animal food rule. This final presentation is focused on answering, how can I control my hazards? As we have previously described, hazards may be known or reasonably foreseeable, or rise to the level where they may require a preventive control. Regardless of the type of hazard, control is necessary. The type of control and its respective documentation vary based on the severity and probability of that hazard's occurrence. If the hazard is known or reasonably foreseeable, but either does not have the severity or the probability where it requires a preventive control, it still must be controlled in a way that is observable or documented. For example, a hazard may occur in this sector as metal in feed mills in South Carolina. Like we've previously described, typically South Carolina feed mills control for metal by having grates over the bulk receiving pit, having receiving that is visually observed so that if there are pieces of metal that can be seen, they are removed during unloading. There are magnets located before the hammer mill, before the pellet mill, and in some cases in the finished feed leg that are checked weekly with documentation or evidence that this weekly check occurs. And there is a preventive maintenance plan for metal equipment within the facility with documentation that that maintenance is being followed. Another example that we may control hazards through a prerequisite program may be the control of aflatoxin. In South Carolina, we may have years with high probability and years with lower probability of aflatoxin occurrence in grains. If it is a low probability year, we may not have a preventive control implemented, but we still need to make sure that our product is safe. In this case, we do so through a prerequisite plan. This may list that ingredients that are susceptible to mycotoxins, such as corn or wheat, are only received from suppliers that are approved and that there is an approved supplier list that is up to date to support this. Maybe there is a mycotoxin management program that is written with sufficient detail regarding the frequency and method of sampling and testing for mycotoxins, and there's documentation and evidence that a program like this is being followed. Again, receiving is typically being observed visually. We can sometimes get a visual indication of mycotoxins if grains are black, green, or moldy. However, not all molds are mycotoxins, and not all mycotoxins can be visually observed, so this should not be the only prevention step. Finally, individuals receiving grains should know what to do if there is evidence of elevated aflatoxin levels in ingredients or finished feed. At what point should they reject the load? When should they notify a supervisor, and what should they document? From time to time, known or reasonably foreseeable hazards have either a severity or probability or both that they elevate to a level where that hazard requires a preventive control. In this case, a preventive control must be implemented that requires another whole level of detail and documentation. For example, if a facility is manufacturing pet food instead of feed and has determined that metal detection is necessary in that pet food, the metal detector may be a process preventive control. In this case, all finished bags are run through a metal detector before being cleared for distribution. There are written management components with documentation and evidence that is followed to confirm that that metal detector is working. The metal detector is monitored, and an exception record is generated whenever metal is detected, and there are 2 years of these exception records available for review. There are corrective actions planned and carried out to identify the source of metal and to eliminate or reduce its likelihood of occurrence again. The metal contamination is either removed or the product is diverted or disposed of, and the food safety plan is reanalyzed if needed. There is also evidence of validation that the metal detector is capable of detecting the size and type of metal within the parameter value, and there is verification that the metal detector's implementation and effectiveness is intact. Records of monitoring and corrective action are reviewed within 7 days. There are hourly checks that the metal detector is working through the use of a test rod, and there is an annual external calibration of the metal detector. When we are considering hazards and their control, we must assume that if it isn't written down, you cannot prove that it happened. Documentation of these controls is a key. An inspection by the South Carolina Department of Agriculture or FDA on a facility's compliance with the Preventive Controls for Animal Food rule will evaluate the facility's food safety plan and extensively evaluate any accompanying records. To help with this process, the South Carolina Department of Agriculture has developed a variety of example prerequisite programs and an example prerequisite control program that may be used by facilities here in South Carolina if they deem appropriate. There are example prerequisite programs for the control of aflatoxin, metal, and drug carryover if the facilities identify that those hazards are known or reasonably foreseeable, but don't have the severity or probability that they may require a preventive control. There's also an example preventive control program to control for aflatoxin if a facility determines that its preventive control is necessary, so that facilities can see the thoroughness necessary for both the prerequisite and preventive control programs based on how that hazard has been evaluated. Again, these are only examples, and each facility is expected to make appropriate determinations for their own individual hazard identification, hazard analysis, and control, but we hope that these resources can be helpful. If you have additional questions regarding the Food Safety Modernization Act or the Preventive Controls for Animal Food rule, please reach out to us at the South Carolina Department of Agriculture. Our contact information is listed here.